To make our kitchen boa, I purchased a couple of regular dish rags, and I also found a twin size flat sheet. But this is what you'll need to make your boa. Before you make your boa, you have to determine how long you want the neck strap to be that's going to come and fall down and connect to your dish towel. So using the mannequin, I'm going to take the measuring tape and I'm going to wrap it around. Now mind you, I like mine to fall just a little bit below the waist. So by doing that, that puts me at about a 52. So I'm going to make my neck strap 52 inches long. Now in addition to measuring the length of the boa, you also want to measure the distance from the shoulder around to the other shoulder. So if my measurements have me at 52, then that means from the shoulder or the neck right here to right here, this measurement is 21 and this measurement is 31. So the neck is 10 inches and each side is 21. So what you're making is kind of like a halter top, but it's not connected to a dress. So in a halter top, when you get to the neck, you want to make sure that it curves around. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut two pieces that are 21 inches in length and then 10 inches around, but this back piece, we're going to cut it on the bias. The reason we're going to cut it on the bias is because you want that piece to mold around your neck. You don't want the fabric sticking all up. That kind of looks tacky. So I'm going to show you how we do that. So we have to first make the pattern for our kitchen boa, and I'm just using regular old cell paper, newspaper, whatever kind of paper you have. I'm going to take the paper, and I want the paper much higher than the neck or the shoulder. So you see I want this extra fabric because I want to make sure the paper wraps around the neck. So you can just kind of take it and see how it wraps around the neck, and then that's about where you're going to lay the paper. So I'm going to put it right here. I want the paper to overlap the center front. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pin right here. Alright, so pins are there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to find the shoulder. It looks like my shoulder is right here. So I'm just going to draw a line and I'm going to stop at the neck portion and I'm going to do a line like that. So now in the front, I'm going to make this boa come down in a V and then curl down and come down across the front, because that's going to be my center right there. On the same thing on the shoulder. What we're going to do on the shoulder is, here's the edge of the shoulder. We don't want it to hang off. We want it to come inside. So I'm just going to draw a line, and I'm going to bring this so it'll come over the bust and come straight down. Now I'm going to turn it around because now we're going to work on the neck section. And because the paper doesn't want to mold with you, right here where we cut the shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and cut the paper just up to that point because I want to be able to wrap the paper around the back of the mannequin. And every time you notice that the paper starts to curl, just cut so that it kind of lays straight. And I'm just going to lay that. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want a lot of bulk around my neck. I think I told you guys that. So I'm just going to cut this off. I'm going back to my marker, and I'm going to take my marker, and I'm going to draw a line right here. And then that's going to tell me that that's my center back right here. So now we see the neck portion is, let me move this up just a little bit. So we see the neck portion there, and we don't want it really wide, so I'm just going to take this and curl it around. And what I'm going to do on the shoulder is I'm going to take the shoulder where the edge is, and I'm going to draw a line up so that it kind of comes around and meets the neck. I know it doesn't look like much right now until we cut it out. So now I'm just going to take my scissors, and I'm going to cut out that paper. So now that the piece is cut out, so now you got a rounded section, and when it gets to the shoulder, it curls around into the back. So now you only have a small amount of fabric on the neck versus all of this wide fabric. And that way you can make this wider so that you can pull it together and it keeps your clothes clean when you're cooking. So let's go and cut out our pieces. So here's my newspaper pattern. I kind of cleaned it up a little bit because it was kind of hard to cut it while it was on the mannequin. So I just kind of cleaned up the edges a little bit. But this is it. I'm going to take my sheet and I'm going to open it out. So I have my sheet laid out and here's my pattern. Remember that portion that went around the neck and that's the shoulder? I'm going to cut that out. But before I cut it out, I'm going to take my marker because you want to make sure you put it on the bias correctly. And so this piece of fabric is going to be straight up and down. This is the grain line here. And also this is the grain line. So if you're not cutting it on the bias, it's going to be kind of difficult to mold. But since we know the direction of the grain, then you can cut this so that it'll mold like this. Or you can just ignore it and cut the whole thing on the bias. I'm going to cut across the shoulder. I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to pin it in place. Now I have that pinned in place. Now mind you, you're going to cut 4 because you're going to cut 2 for the left and 2 for the right. Now remember, from my shoulder down, I wanted 21 inches and you got to allow for seam allowances. So I'm not going to do a seam allowance right now. I'm just going to measure it. So 21 inches down, I'm putting my measuring tape at the top. And I'm going to measure 21 inches and it puts me right here. So I'm going to take my marker and just mark right there with my chalk pen. And of course, if you want to, you can just draw a line straight across. Okay. Now I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. And I'm just eyeing it because I'm just going to guess at 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you can get your measuring tape and you can measure a 1/2 inch just so you know you got it cut right. So we're going to do a 1/2 inch all the way around and we're going to cut 4 of these. Shortcut into cutting 4 is we're going to take the one we just marked and I'm going to take the fabric and I'm going to fold it up like that. So now that I've got the fabric folded, we've got 2 here and then we got 2 on the bottom. And I'm going to take my pen and pin through all thickness. Because when we cut this, we want to cut all 4 layers at the same time. So now you want to just cut this out. Now my pieces are cut out, so now I'm going to use a really soft interfacing just to give me a little more stability because this is going to go through the wash, so I want to make sure it's going to hold up when I wash it. Now I'm going to lay the boa down on the interfacing. Now mind you, because we're making a front and a back, you only need 1 piece of interfacing because you don't want both sides to be interfaced. So I'm going to scoot this over so I can save a little bit of fabric. And then I'm going to pin through all layers. Now remember, the neck section was cut on the bias. So you want to make sure you also lay this so that you get the nice stretch around it also. So that's why we did the little line to let us know where to line this up. Pin through all thickness. And now we're going to cut all this out. When you're ironing on the interfacing, make sure you're ironing it on the opposite side. So if the curl comes like this, you don't want to do 2 pieces like that. You want them coming in the opposite direction so that it molds around. Same thing with the neck. So continue watching as we finish up our kitchen boa.